Hi Lisa, Rajiv this side. First of all, I'm very sorry that I couldn't send you the video. This week was very busy for me, and most of the time I was traveling. And today also I'll be traveling in the evening, so it will not be possible for me to connect online for the class. So what I'll do is I'm gonna record the whole thing and then send it to you so that you can practice. So the first part of the recording is about what we have done in the last class, and as you can see on the screen, uh, unfortunately it couldn't get saved last time, so I'm gonna do it all over again. That's fine. These are the two things which we have done. This is what we had done earlier, and we wanted to add more details to it, so we created this entire dial, including the kind of effects you see, which gives it a little, a 3D appearance, and the text, how it was written in circle, and we have also explored the patterns. So all of those things I'll try to sum it up quickly as possible, and then we'll move to this part where I have used the 3D tools. So I'll just keep them on the side, um, and we'll start fresh. So first thing first is we are going to create this dial, you see, and I'm gonna start with a circle, and essentially this is just concentric circles, but what I'm interested in here is how the text is written in a you know uh, circular format. So there I'm going to build the dial from scratch, and to give you some idea about how the text is written or any other effect is pulled off, we'll be experimenting here and then using it in our final artwork. So if you click and hover on the text tool, there are many tools which is going to pop up, and we are especially interested in the third one, which says type on a path tool, and we already have a circular path here, and we can use that as a reference for typing the text. So if you hover on top of the path by using the text on a path tool, it will allow you to click and then add some placeholder text instantly. Now we just have to type the thing we want. So I'm just gonna put 540, and also for setting them apart, I'm gonna use the space key four times: 1, 2, 3, 4, then 600, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 700, 2, 4, 800, 950, 200, and 1600. Well, now it's all about changing the font size and getting the right font and placing it where it is supposed to. Followed by, there are some pipe characters which can help us to get the lines, these lines you see. So I'm not gonna spend much time on finding out the right font. I'm sure you can do it better than me. So I'll just go with let's just I'm gonna go with impact this time, and I'll reduce the size. I can use the shortcut Command Shift and comma on the keyboard. Command Shift period is going to increase, and Command Shift comma is going to decrease it. Okay, so yeah, I think this much should do. Uh, Now I'm gonna add some pipe characters, and I'll follow the same thing: one, two, three, four, four space bars, and then shift and pipe character. Okay, so once again, let's do it: one, two, three, and then the pipe character. Now, since we have this already with us, we can copy one pipe and four spaces. I'm doing it by holding shift and then using the arrow keys to select it. I'm gonna say Control C. For Mac, you should say Command C, and I'm gonna paste these. Control V. But then I realized that it has more spacing. That's not a problem. We can change the spacing anytime we want. So I'm gonna keep on pasting Control V a few times, and then select all of these, and then use Alt and my right arrow key to set the spacing. Okay, remember what I'm doing here is changing the kerning value. So the kerning can be changed by using the option key on the map and using the left and right arrow keys. Okay, now I think this is what we need. Um, so the outer part of it is done. Now I'll also have I accidentally missed out on the circle, like let the circle be deleted actually when I typed on the path. So I'm gonna create a new one. So I reference the center by hovering on top, and I'm using circle tool again, and I'm gonna go and then make this thicker line. um, so hit D for default, and that's gonna fill white and set the outline color to white. So this is the line now we have. I think we need to reduce the size a little bit, and I'll also just copy this entire thing, and then it's preserved in my memory, so I can paste it back anytime I want. Next time I will not draw the circle all over again. So now let's zoom into it and then see these are the numbers which we are supposed to write along with these special characters. So let's address that. Now we would require a circular path again, so and larger than this circle. So I'm gonna say Control F because I already have copied this circle. So I have two instances of it. I'm gonna hold Option and Shift both, click and drag. Okay. So what I did is I increased the size of the circle which I pasted on top of the smaller one, and it seems if I have just one circle, but if I get rid of the fill, you will see that there are two circles. Okay, and I'm gonna use the outer one for writing these 1 2 3 4 numbers. So I'm gonna again go back to the type on a path tool and click on this, the outer one, and it fills it with the placeholder text. And this time I'm gonna choose a simpler font, so I'm just gonna stick to Arial and then start typing. Once again, I'll follow the same process. Type 1, add some space bar, 1 2 3 4, 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Okay, I think I got one extra space here, so let's get rid of that. Now, hereafter I have some special characters. Uh, so to find those special characters, let's first add the spaces 1 2 3 4. To find those special characters, I can go to the type and then choose glyphs. Now from the glyphs, most of the font have this rectangular shape. Uh, this one we are looking for. So I'm just double click on it and that gets applied here. So I can continue 1 2 3 4 and double click on this to add one. 1 2 3 4, double click on this to add one. Or we can do the same which we did for copying these pipe characters. So I'm just gonna say Control C to copy. Ensure that it starts with the space and then ends with the character. So Control C and go to the end and then say Control V for me, Command V for you, and let's do it once again. Yeah, I can close the clips now, and if I see, I think the size of the text is big uh, for our purpose. So I'm gonna select all of it and then say Control Shift once, and now this seems fine. Okay, I'll continue pasting these. I realized that I had copied the bigger versions of it, so I'm just gonna copy it again. This time I'll more dots and say Control V, or once again let's say Control V, and then yeah, I think I need to get rid of this one, and then I can use Shift and arrow keys to select all these and use Alt and arrow keys to just quickly adjust the distances. And I think we have what we are looking for. I think we need to get rid of this one also, and again try adjusting the space. It needs to be spaced apart more. Yeah, this looks fine. Okay, now we have the circle is acting as the core right now, and inside that also we see that there is this pattern which is encircling the path. So that's what we will be doing next. So um, first thing first, let's make a copy of it and then say Control F to paste it back, and then reduce the size of it by holding Option and Shift together. I need a smaller circle. So, and I'll use this path for applying a pattern brush which I'll create now. So for the pattern brush, what you can do is use the line tool, or it works with any vector shape. In fact, it works with bitmaps also, but for our purpose we would just require simply creating one single unit of this repeat, right? I see in one repeat there is a longer line and there is a smaller line, okay, followed by some space. So this is what, if we can create, we can repeat that as well. So I'm gonna make a copy of it. Let's rotate it, and I'm not gonna go for very precise thing here. I'm just trying to make something which looks similar to what we are trying to achieve. Okay, so this is one single unit, and then I'll add one more copy of it so that we can have that extra space. Very well. So look at this corner. I need to join these paths together to get rid of this effect here. Uh, so all I have to do is select both the paths and then say Control J on the keyboard. And Illustrator takes care of the joining for us, and that's done. Now this and this can also be joined together. So I'm gonna hold Shift and select these two and say Control J once again. So it's like I have one single unit of this followed by the line which covers up for the space. Okay, and I also realized that these lines are relatively thinner than this one, so that can very easily be done. Now I need to select, but for that we have to break the lines, these two lines, because I have created this as one single line. uh, if I increase the thickness of this one, it will affect these also, so I'm not going to do that for now. Okay, let's examine it further. I see that there is some rounding happening here in the little one and probably on the big one also, but that doesn't matter because it's merging with the thicker line outside. So what I'm gonna do is select this whole unit here and then go to the stroke setting. In the stroke setting, look at the cap settings. This is set to butt cap right now. We are going to go for round cap, which will take care of this rounding. And now all we have to do is repeat this entire thing. So before we go and then drag it on the brushes panel, let's just quickly test run. So this is what we are uh, expecting. This is how it's gonna get repeated, right? So I'm just gonna delete this, select the complete thing, make a group of it just for the convenience. Even if you don't make the group, it will work just fine. Now I'm going to go to the brushes panel, expand it, and simply click and then drag it. And you can see that the last patterns we had created still exist, right? But I'm just gonna create it from scratch. So drag it, make sure that you select pattern brush, that's very important, and then say OK. And you can give it any name of your choice, that's fine. For us, I don't need to play around with all these settings except the colorization method, because I may want a different color for that later on. So I'm gonna click on this method and then choose hue shift. Okay, and then say OK, and we have the pattern brush ready with us. Excellent. Now we can apply this pattern on any path of our choice. So just to show you, I have created the path and make sure that the path is selected. Then go to the brushes and then choose the newly created pattern, and you will see the pattern is actually running along the path. We can also control the thickness and many other things by going to the strokes panel, and then for example let's change the size of it, which we would require in our case. You can see it behaves exactly the way we want it to, even when we change the weight of the stroke. And that's a very powerful feature in fact. So I'm just gonna get rid of it and select the inner core where I need to apply this pattern, and then go to the brushes panel and then choose the last one. And I see, something went wrong. Actually nothing went wrong. We just have to go to the strokes panel and then change the weight of it from 1 to 0.5, maybe lesser. So let's go for 0.25. Okay, this seems better. I can also increase the size of it by holding alt and shift together and then adjust it so that it touches the thicker line exactly the way it is here. Okay, so I think most of the things we have created now, which is inside the dial, except the core of it. So let's go for that. So I'm gonna select the thicker outline I have, say Control C, and then say Control F again to paste it on the same place, and then use Alt in my case, Option in your case, plus Shift together, and then reduce the size of it to build the core of it. Okay. Now, if it is not visible to you, try setting the default colors by hitting D, and still if it is not visible, that means it's hidden inside the bigger circle or the smaller circle which is there at the top. So all we have to do is press Ctrl Shift and right bracket key to bring it on top. Okay, it was hidden by the fill applied on this. So I can also select this and get rid of the fill, just because later we would be coloring this entire thing, so we wouldn't want anything to have fills in it. Let's do it for the thicker outline also. So it also has a fill applied to it. So what it means is simply, if I color it, you will see that there is a color applied to it. So I don't want any colors for that, so I'm gonna choose none. Okay, let me quickly see if it is getting recorded or not. Yeah, it's recording. That's great. Okay, I might break the video in two parts also. Um, so yeah, so this is fine so far. Now let's start with colors. So before we fill the color, I'm gonna create the outer boundary of it, and I'm gonna use the same circle. So I'll say Control F and then increase the size of mm, perfect. And I'm gonna push this back all the way behind everything which is there. So Control Shift left bigger bracket. Okay, and then we'll start coloring it. So first thing first, let's apply a solid gray color on it, and that we can do by going to the swatches and pick out this color from the swatches. Okay, and then we realize that we have to change the color for the text. So I'll select both the text layers, and then here make sure that the fill is prioritized, and then I'm gonna choose 10% gray. Okay, now for this thicker outline which is there, let's select that, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. I think we have to select both this one, and then choose 10%. Okay, so what's happening here is the black outline, the thicker outline, we have to address the stroke, not the fill. This one also we have to address the stroke, not the fill. And the mistake we did is that we haven't prioritized the stroke here. So we have to click on stroke to prioritize it, and then go to the swatches and then choose this to get the result we want. Excellent. This is what we wanted, and now we have it. Now the next thing is using the gradient to get something like this, and then adding this red line to it. Okay, so um we'll have to create the gradient, and there are complications with it because it's a conical gradient and Illustrator doesn't by default give you a conical gradient. So I have a workaround for this. What I'm going to do here is, rather than using the fill, I'm going to use the gradient on the outline. So let me build it separately so that we can understand it better. First, I'll tell you why it is not possible. If I choose the gradient tool by prioritizing the fill, and then go to the gradient tool and click on this, it applies a gradient, right? Now let's explore the gradient panel. And here you see that I have just three options. First is linear, second is radial, and third is freeform gradient. Now in all three of the cases, the result we want is not achievable because it's a conical gradient, right? So no matter which one we choose, we'll not get what we want. So this is one of the limitations. So there is a workaround. The workaround is that Illustrator also allows you to apply gradient on the stroke, as long as the stroke is not a filled path. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So first thing first, we know that the fill is not gonna work out, so I'm just gonna click on this to set it as no. Let's switch to the stroke and then see this gradient option is there. I'm gonna click on that and instantly I get this gradient. Okay, and then I have a few options to play around with here. So the second option, which says apply gradient along stroke, let's click on that, and I see that it's giving me something, you know uh, which can work out for us. Let's just increase the thickness of the stroke and then examine it further. So if I increase the thickness of the stroke, and then uh, we also have to align the stroke inside the path. This blue line is the path, and we have to align the whole width of the stroke inside it. And that option is not available to us right now. If you go to the stroke panel, you see align stroke, these couple of options are not available. Why it's not available? Because it's a closed shape. So we need to break this out. And for that, you have to go to the eraser and then choose the scissors tool. And I'm just gonna click on one of the anchor points here. And the moment I broke it, as you can see, this is no longer closed shape. Okay, and now if I switch the gradient tool and go to the gradients panel, uh, then I have, sorry, let's go to the strokes panel first, and then see we have, okay, all right, it's not giving me that option still. um, Let me just say control Z, uh, and then strange why it's not giving me that option to align it inside. So okay, a workaround would be to reduce the size of it till the time it converges like this. Okay, excellent. So we have something like conical gradient. Now we just have to add some color stops to it. So we will select it, make sure that the stroke is prioritized, go to the gradients panel, and then here we can add more color stops. So for adding the color stops, you just have to hover in between the range here, and when you see the plus sign, you have to click there. That's it. And you can drag and manipulate the gradient. So of course we don't want this dark black here, so I can pull this out also to remove this color stop. Okay, and then I can play around with these to get the pattern we want. We are getting closer now. We just have to ensure that it's a seamless appearance. So this end should be exactly like this end. So first thing first, I don't need this white here, so I'm gonna go here and then add a color stop, get rid of this one, click and drag, and then hold Alt on the keyboard. You can make a copy of these also and then drag it all the way to the end so that we can get rid of that seamless line, and then we can simply adjust these. Excellent. So now we have what we were looking for. Maybe we need to reduce the this gray. So just double click on that, and then oh, you have to make sure that it's selected, then only you'll be able to see the changes. Now double click on this and then reduce. Yeah, this is better. So it's a little hit and trial, but you would get what you want. I'm gonna reduce it further, make it white. Okay, maybe this one needs to be a little darker. All right. Okay, so with a little hit and trial, you can exactly get what is there. Now I just need to replace this with this one. So I'm going to select this, hit delete on the keyboard and pull this here. Okay. If I reduce the, increase the size of it, the hole appears in the center, but that can be taken care very easily by going to the strokes and then increasing the width of the stroke. So I'm going to go for 7 points now, maybe 8 points, and then slightly reduce the size to get the size of the core we want. Some hidden trial would be necessary for this, but you would get what you are looking for. Then uh, this thick line we have here, I see there are two colors in this, but those are actually not two colors, but the shadow which is being casted by this light coming from this side. Precisely what is there is going to be a little complicated to achieve for students and for beginners. So I'm just gonna set the color of the outline to slightly lighter gray and increase the thickness of the stroke to 2 points, or maybe I think 1.5 would be more suitable. Excellent. So we have created most of the dial. Now for some added depth, now here you can see that we had managed to replicate the center, uh, you know uh, more closer to what is here. So that just takes the while, uh, because you have to hit and try and then see if it is working out. So let's quickly add that red line, and for that I'm going to use the rectangle tool and get rid of the outline. Select, prioritize the fill the red color in this, zoom in all the way, select these two, click and drag, then we can add this here in the center. So let me reduce the size of it a little bit, then say Control X to cut it. We will select the core and then say Control B to paste it behind the selected object. Then we can use the rotate tool, click once on the center and put the dial wherever we want. Okay, we can put it anywhere. So I'm gonna put it here. Very well. The last thing is add some depth to it. So for that I'm gonna use, uh, let me show you that here. This effect is generated by using inner shadow, and we would require a a slightly lighter version of the background. So I'm gonna go to the colors panel and pull this K value towards left, and now I can go to the effects panel, effects menu, go to stylize, go to inner glow, and the moment I did it, you see that there is this inner glow appearing, but I need to change uh, inner shadow, and that option is not present in Illustrator, but I can work around this inner glow thing. All I have to do is change the mod from screen to multiply, and ensure that instead of white we have selected black as the color, and you see instantly it has added that depth. And then I can play around with the blur amount. Okay, and instead of changing the color of the black here, you should play around with the opacity. So I'm gonna go for 50% opacity, maybe 45%. Then again, it's the matter of hit and trial and what you exactly want, but we have managed to add some depth to it. The same thing we can do for this core also, just to isolate it from the background a bit. So this time I'm gonna use drop shadow instead of inner glow because I want the shadow around it. So I'm gonna click on drop shadow, and instantly you see it isolated it from there. But we have to tweak up these values. I don't want the offset to be so much. So I'll go for 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, and the blur for 3 points. So now you see that isolation here as well. I'm gonna say okay. The same thing can be done for this dial also because it is supposed to be slightly up from the surface. So I'm gonna go to the effects, go to the stylize and choose drop shadow. It remembers the last applied settings. So I'm just gonna say okay, and so we have managed to create the dial. I'm gonna select all of it and then say Control G to group it. Okay. That's part one of the video. I am very skeptic of not losing it again. So I'll just stop the video now and continue in the next part.